Hello, cardboard viewers. I'm your professionally miserable host, Winkers, and today we're taking a look at a particularly special community event hosted by none other than Path of Exile's darling event organizer, Zizaran. Have you played Ark? Because I have. I've played a lot of Ark, and I wanted to join in on the fun. Unfortunately, the server was being hosted in Europe, and that made me feel like my options were a bit limited. Losing hours you spent on a tame because the game lags or delays in a weird way isn't a great feeling. So I decided on something else. I was going to build something. Something big. I started my Ark journey as anyone would, making my character, getting my name in, selecting the preset that makes me look exactly like Popeye, because, I mean, what else do you do when they let you do that with your forearms, right? Anyways, I picked my start point, I got started, kind of played a few minutes that first night, and then I logged off, and the next day I logged in, and in proper Ark fashion, because I wasn't housed or anything, I was dead to a raptor. It didn't matter. I didn't really get anything done, so it was fine. It was time to get into the nitty-gritty of it, though, to get started. Started gathering the basics, getting some fiber and berries, and I got attacked by a little bastard of a Pegamastix, and I decided, you know what? I'm doing this alone. Let's recruit another bastard for the cause. Taming rates were jacked way up to 10 times. So I put some berries in my last slot, and I tamed it. And I named it Tilly because that's an inside joke about little thieving bastards between me and my friends. I started getting some levels, I started learning the basics, getting bolas so I could get hide easier. You gotta spend leather to make leather though, so I found a dodo and I started hacking. Dodos are pretty easy to catch as it turns out. In the immortal words of Glock 9, I killed a hot dog and harvested that for hide as well. This got me my first bolas, and more importantly, it got me to level 10, so I could pick up a bow. This starts to expedite things a lot, because the start of Ark is kind of based around getting your initial equipment, and then as you start to unlock more tools to work with, you can snowball much more quickly. And my first step now is to build a raft. This is going to let me get around, it's going to be my first base, it's going to be mobile, and yeah, it doesn't take long. Gathering the materials is quick, it's pretty close to small tribes rate, so everything is like 3 times. I get my raft built. Put the basics on it, get a bed on it, so if I die, I actually have a place to respawn. And yeah, I'm on my way, I'm getting things going. I set up my raft, I get my metal going, you know. My mortar and pestle, my smithy. Doesn't take long, and then as I move up the coast, I find a Triceratops, and I think, okay, perfect. I'm gonna need a Triceratops. It doesn't just give me an opportunity to get berries for making narcotics to knock creatures unconscious, but it also, and this is much more important, the charge effect of a Triceratops will let me get tons of thatch, which is part 1 of building very efficiently in Ark. You need lots and lots of thatch, and you need to be able to get it quickly. Anyway, fast taming rates, nothing new. Put some Measure Berries in the inventory and move on my way as I go looking for a Pteranodon, because I'm going to need to be able to fly around if I want to level up much faster, and also to get a hold of basically everything else. Anyway, yeah, that first one, someone put food in the inventory before I got back to it. Whatever, I find more, better ones. It wasn't a very high level one. The Triceratops finishes taming and I name it Sarah even though it's a male because that's what you do. It's going to be a Land Before Time reference type of video. I get Sarah saddled up, I go off, I do some basic gathering with it, and then I find another Pteranodon. And this one's about the same as the first one. And it's just, there's something comical about shooting these things in the head after you bullet them, because they just stand there, there's like no panic. Calm as Hindu cows. Anyways, I kill some turtles to get keratin, because you need keratin or chitin to make the saddle for a Pteranodon. That opens up flight, which again is really important for getting around and really kind of starting your adventure. I tame the first one, I name it Terry with a P, because as you do, you know. I go out looking for more chitin and keratin. I find a Meganura, which is great. People really underestimate these things because they give way too much experience, and they also give me chitin, which is like another boost. But then I find this. This is a level 145 Pteranodon. It is one level. I know it goes up to 150, but they're increments of 5 always, so it's 1 away from perfect. And I get really excited. I have exactly enough tranks to put it down. And I go on my way looking to make a saddle, this time for that Pteranodon, because it is going to be much better and very helpful in getting around and finding out I mean, the layout of the land. This is Fjordur. I've never actually played this map. I've played every single other map in Ark, but this is a first for me. This is my metal pike. I actually have had this for quite a while. You might have noticed it on the hotbar. On Fjordur, they have these crates along the beach that aren't like player-owned. They just spawn there near shipwrecks, and you can get tools out of them. And I find out later I could have gotten all metal tools very early, but the first two only gave me a pike, so I just assumed it was weapons and went on with my way. Ah, yes. And then while taming that Pteranodon, I got jumped by an Argent. It's a good refresher in how I'm supposed to fight them with my crossbow and lots of levels into stamina. It was a strong Argent, kind of a shame, because I would have been happy to tame this. But, you know, I didn't have the narcotics at the time. Anyway, the first Pteranodon I tamed, I unclaimed him, and then I went back to my new one, which finished taming at a remarkable level 216. This is very, very good, especially considering I didn't tame it with any high-quality meat. I just kind of put random raw meat into it. Here you can see me splitting stacks to make tons of spoiled meat for more narcotics later. You do that when they're low on, like, duration before one will spoil, and it causes them all to spoil at once, and you can get hundreds of spoiled meat really quickly. This is why I needed a flyer, though. These are in place of Explorer Notes that you find in Ark, which give you a big experience boost and a 10-minute bonus that'll stack. That also gives you double experience. So by doing this, I'm able to fly around and get tons of levels very quickly. I go from, like, early 20s to up in my 60s in very, very short order. This is a big, big deal too, because I need to get to those higher levels to access the tames that are going to make building easier. Also, better armor, which makes it much easier for me to not die. Do some more exploring. I see some cool locales. I think while I'm out and about, I find some crystal and I get a spyglass made. It was kind of a nice, easy early day. After that, it's time to really get started. I start making cryopods. Cryopods let you store your dino in basically what is a Pokeball. I don't know how else to put it. It's a Pokeball. You put them in it and then you can throw them out when you need them. This makes it much easier for me to put everything away when I'm done and also to kind of protect them so that they're not always in danger, because not everything I tame is going to be high level. So anyway, I build a bunch of stone gateways, and then I build the wrong kind of door, but that honestly shouldn't matter all that much. This trap is designed so that there's a gap between the gateways, which allows me to run out after I lure an Argent in, which is what I do. This is a 150 Argent, and I was very excited to find it. Very, very excited.
Nice.
Unfortunately, Ark will do what Ark does. Some Deinonychus found my tame and managed to glitch through walls and kill it, so I dismantled the trap. Rebuilt the parts that I needed to, but not before a Sabertooth attacked me at random while I was overweight. And then the server does this. It buffers my input. And I fall off a cliff. Because that is clearly what I intended to do. It also kind of eats my input when I try to activate my parachute, so I take full fall damage. But I'm a seasoned Ark player. I run right to my Pteranodon, I get on it, everything's fine. This is why it's important to have high-level dinos, because a very low-level Pteranodon probably wouldn't have survived that, and it would have been a much, much bigger setback for me. I would have lost all these materials, too. I get half the materials back for disassembling the gateways. Anyway, I found the new place to build, one that was a little less crazy with less dangerous creatures around, that had a serviceable Argent nearby. This one is 145, that seems to be my lucky number, matching my Pteranodon. I knock it out, I tame it, things start moving along. After cryopotting it, I go ahead and I unlock the gates on my trap, because I don't intend to take this one down. That way, if anyone else is in the area, they can use it. Also, I find a snow owl nearby, a low-level one. And as you might have just seen, he flew out of the trap. Yeah. I managed to get it down, and it was low-level, so it tames very quickly, and I'm fine. But this thing's important, because the next thing I need to tame is a Doedicurus, and Doedicurus will curl up when their health gets low, which makes it kind of difficult to tame them. You can heal other dinos with a snow owl, though. And I'm going to use that to get it to uncurl and finish knocking it out. Here I am getting some levels on myself, as well as levels on my Argent. You can see I'm specking it in weight, so that we'll be able to carry lots of stuff. This is very important for gathering tons of materials. And then I made a trap for the Doed, and the game decided one of the walls would be inverted. I'm sorry, OCD, if you have it. Anyways, I found a 150 Doed. Very exciting, very, very high quality. You kind of want this to be good, because you want it to be able to hit the highest quality rocks and break them in as few swings as possible. This makes it very important. Believe it or not, the weight on a Doedicurus isn't actually that important. You want HP, stamina, and high melee damage. The reason why the weight isn't important is something you'll see in a bit. Now, I have to knock it out. And these guys are pretty tough. It takes a while. Like, a lot of shots. And here it is curling up. This is where I get the snow owl out. Gets up, I keep shooting, I shoot a lot, finally passes out, and I get a 150 tame, which I'm very excited about because the last one didn't go so well. Of course, it's black and red in colors, and it does the curl up ball roll move, so I have to name it Shadow the Hedgehog. You have to make a Sonic reference that's forced. If you don't do that, the game will actually come after you with like 100 Alpha Rexes, kill you. Very talentfully programmed. Anyone who's played Ark can tell you that the game will see you do something and decide to just fuck you over. It actually just does that. It's amazing. That said, I finished everything up, and now it's time to build. And build I do. I start by making more of a permanent structure for me to live in. In retrospect, this was pretty unnecessary. It could have been useful if I had been smarter about it, but I just kind of... I don't know, you know, it's one of those things in Ark. You're like, all right, I gotta have a proper base, and it probably would have more purpose later, but something happens that kind of changes that. After making my initial base, I go out and I gather a lot of materials. And you can see here, I have a lot of wood, I have a lot of stone, but more importantly, the footage is really sped up, and that's because look at how long it takes just to make the building materials. These are all pillars, ceilings, etc. Some staircases, because we have to be able to get up to it. And you're going to see what I had in mind in a little bit. I kind of noticed that the volcanic island was really kind of an important place on this map. The wyverns are there. There's a lot of useful things to kill there. A lot of other useful things to tame. Magmasaurs, basilisks. So I get started. I get everything set up to kind of start the foundation of my project. And it's a bit of a doozy. I start building. It's not this fast in person, obviously. It's pretty hard to make out what's happening, but this is just the start, and I have to do a lot. But after I figure out how to get the stairs going up to the actual structure, things start moving pretty good. And if you're paying really close attention, you might notice what's going on here, especially if you've played the game. Yeah, that's a bridge. I'm going to bridge the ocean between the volcanic island and the mainland. And boy, does it take a while. And that's just the building. I also have to gather materials, which, admittedly, this is what all the setup was for. You can see how quickly the Doedicurus gets stone, right? I just use my hands to chop trees, because, I mean, why not? It's not necessary to get a chainsaw, really, unless I wanted to really min-max it, and I don't think it would have mattered that much, because you need twice as much stone as you do wood. I go back to building. I make good progress. Occasionally deal with a pest. And then this happens. I see a bunch of wyverns flying by, and I realize, oh shit. So I log off for the night a little early there. I decide I'll go back on tomorrow after the server has restarted, and hopefully a lot of this has been cleaned up. The next day, I log on, and I find an alpha raptor hanging out near my base. Luckily, I have a high-level Argent. This is why you get a high-level Argent. You can deal with the more extreme pests like this very easily. I was hoping for like a high-quality hatchet, but I ended up getting a simple pistol, which really doesn't do anything for me. It is nice, though. With all the interruptions dealt with, I realized it was time to get going and really put in some hard work on getting this bridge done. And after a bunch of crafting, this happened. I was on my merry way, built onto the seafloor, got all the supports in place, swam up to my raft, and suddenly it was unresponsive. And I'm like, oh no, I'm lagging. Look around thinking it'll fix after a moment, but it doesn't, so I have to hop back onto my boat the old-fashioned way. You might be able to tell what's wrong now. Yeah, if the fish start flying like that, it means the server's restarting or crashed. So I exit the game, and I start refreshing like a madman because I am probably underwater and I need to get back in immediately or I will drown. Kind of a small issue. I have a bed right there on the raft and I'll just respawn and grab my stuff, but it's a tense moment when you hear that logging in, you know? It's the drowning, the literal drowning. No big deal though. And look how close we are to being done at this point. This was after 3 days, and then I get a new jump scare as I realized when I logged out, I dropped my shoulder pet. My little bastard partner who'd been with me this whole time was getting eaten by a megalodon shark. So I went over there, I swam up to her and I grabbed her. And she weighed me down, but luckily I got beat towards the raft by the shark. Thank goodness I'm wearing flak armor. I can get back okay, and it feels like I've got all the luck on my side at this point. And yeah, at this point, you can kind of see how far away the island is and how far I've come. I was probably going to get off for the day, but seeing how close I was like, I have to finish, you know? I gotta get there. That's what I did. You can see a wyvern in the corner of the screen back there a moment ago. That's someone's tamed wyvern. That's not, I don't need to worry about that. But yeah, I get to this point and I realize I'm probably not going to be able to place another ceiling. Like, this is it. This is the technically a completion point because you can get to the bridge. You can actually cross now on foot with no additional support. Without swimming at all. But it's not one contiguous walk. So I get ready to navigate this terrain and finish the bridge properly. It takes a little while to figure it all out, especially because I'm used to playing on a server with different build settings, so I have to work around the default stuff that's a little bit strict in what you can place and how. Towards the end, I actually do figure out how you're really supposed to do this, but until then, it's a lot of craziness. As I'm slowly destroying stuff and rebuilding stuff and realizing how support works and just getting it all going, but then I start to make some real progress and you see, okay, it's coming together. We're gonna get there. It looks alright enough. It looks sturdy at least, right? But then this happens. Something I didn't anticipate. One last curveball from the game as a wild Velonosaur just rolls up on me. And I think quick, I get behind the pillar, and I got tapped once, so my bird comes in to help, and I get out my crossbow. And I'm just really glad my armor didn't break, because I'd already been hit by a Megalodon a bunch. But more than that, I'm really glad this wasn't a high-level Velonosaur, because who knows what could have happened. As nice as it is to have the bridge at this state, I have a lot to go yet. I want to make it wider, and I wanted to make a sort of rest stop area here with a big, like, high-end public crafting station for people to use by the volcano, right? That was going to be like a giant community project for the server. A bridge like this might look silly in a game where you can fly, but if you're on a Maywing, it's actually nice to have this long stretch of serviceable land to get around with, because Maywings are fast. They're also fun. Anyway, here it is. Look at it go. I want to say thousands of stone, but it's probably closer to tens of thousands of stone. Half as much wood, and I believe it's a quarter as much thatch, maybe a fifth. It's a lot. It's a lot. It's all come together though. It's finished. You can walk it. Honestly, it takes a while just to fly it. How long it is. Then, the next day, when I come on to finish it and spruce it up, this happens. I find that I've been killed by a raptor, which is very strange because when I log out in this game, I log out on a bed in my house. So immediately I'm thinking, okay, I don't know how this happened. Let's take a look around, let's not panic. But panic is really all that's left at this point. I hear the stomping around the base, and I immediately have a thought. And when I go to look, it kind of is confirmed. Yeah, I don't have any of my stuff. And there's a bloody Diplocaulus. These are the worst dino in the game. They're really just kind of an annoyance, and I'm pretty sure in this case it's much worse than that. I'm pretty sure the Diplocaulus clipped through the wall with its head and pushed me out of my bed and then out of my base so that a raptor could kill me. And you can see here, the raptor didn't kill me that long after I logged off last night. It was only 4 days in game. So I'd been dead for quite a while by the time I logged. And that's how it ends. I had all of my tames on me, right? It's kind of a reflex from playing on PvP servers. I hadn't even considered the full ramifications of it. Because in my mind, what you do on a PvP server is, if you're not really in an established base, you hide your body somewhere and you keep your most valuable stuff on you and you leave your base the way it is with everything unlocked so that if someone busts into it, they don't need to break anything to get at your stuff. And you hope they don't find you. That didn't happen though. I had my stuff on me, and if I had it in a box, offline protection probably would have kept it perfectly safe, which really sucks. More than that though, it's the idea that maybe someone lured that Diplo over there to get at my body and get my stuff, which is also very possible. I find it incredibly unlikely that that series of events would occur naturally, because when there's no one around an area in Ark, the server is unloaded, or rather the cell that you're in is unloaded, and the server doesn't really process anything happening there to save space. So someone had to be around the whole time that was happening for it to happen. And it's kind of a public place, so I could maybe see it happening, but for that whole series of events to unfold in the, I don't know, 9-10 hours I was offline, it's a lot, you know? I'm pretty sure there's someone on that server who has all my dinos. It's a very bittersweet way to end things. I didn't like it, you know? I was very upset, but at the same time I was kind of relieved because the day before I did at least finish the bridge, right? The project was kind of done. It was serviceable for its purpose, but the big crafting station I thought was going to be like the cherry on top to really make it incredible and also to make it a place that the greater server community might recognize and I could give people reactions of it. But to retame everything, I mean, setting up took days, right? Getting all those dinos together. I was almost basically at square one again. And I thought, well, put it out there, let's see what people think. I could always go back and knuckle down and rebuild and maybe beg some people for dinos to help and finish the project, but it was so demoralizing at the time. It's still demoralizing now. I don't know, you know? It's cool for what it is. I'm happy I did it. I had fun doing it. Real bummer how it came to an end. Say a whole bunch of likes on the video, right? If people really like it, I will go back on. There will be a part 2. I will finish the project. I'll find something even extra to do for it. I don't know what that means, but I'll find something extra to make it interesting. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed. Thanks for watching. Zizaran's community server information is down below. I don't know how much longer it's going to be active for. I believe it was more or less the whole month of March, so the lifespan on that is a bit limited. If you don't know who Zizaran is, check out his stream on Twitch. Follow him along. He does do community events like this from time to time. They're a lot of fun. Also, he hosts the Gauntlet for Path of Exile. If you don't know what the Gauntlet is, even if you don't really play Path of Exile, you should probably tune into that because it is, holy shit, really entertaining. You get to see people fight one of the hardest games out there with the difficulty cranked up to 1,000. It's fantastic. Anyway, thanks for watching. Get out of here. Bye.